A very good evening and welcome to Network. My name is Siphumelele Zondi. Now, the Square Kilometre Array recently announced that it will give telephony services to some communities who have no network coverage. We'll give you information about that program. We'll also tell you about South Africa's Google Doodle winner. Our discussion is on how digital will possibly take over everything soon. We are live, so find us on SABC Network on Facebook and Twitter. It's newsnetwork at sabc.co.za on email. Let's start with your social media and technology news. For the very first time, many communities in the area that are in close proximity to the Square Kilometre Array, or SKA, will be able to make phone calls and browse the internet. Many people in the Karoo do not have mobile phone coverage. For them, this would be near impossible now, as the Square Kilometre Array requires mobile phones to be off in close proximity. This is because radio frequency that comes from mobile phones interferes with the data collected by the satellites that are there for research purposes. A solution to give people in the Karoo telephony and internet services has been found. This will be provided by those running the Square Kilometre Array in the area. They've teamed up with Vox Telecom, who've created a method to make calls and browse the internet without interfering with the satellites that are in the region to collect data. The SKA's plan is to have thousands of radio telescopes in 3 unique configurations to give astronomers an easier method of monitoring the sky and collect data from space as part of science and technology research. In order for this data to be properly collected, then there must be no radio frequency interference, so smartphones and other devices must be switched off in the area.
The involvement of the SKA in the area, there are very special requirements with regards to radio frequency interference as such.
Radio interference is generated by anything producing radio signals, cell phones, television broadcasters, satellites in the sky.
If there was radio frequency interference, then data collected could be corrupted and misinterpreted. In worst-case scenarios, radio receivers in the telescope could be damaged. This would mean people in the area who already have no mobile phone coverage would never have network access. In fact, SKA representatives say they asked community members about their needs, and telephony services came up as number 1 on the list.
We are now in a knowledge economy and people want information.
The new solution by SKA and Vox Telecoms requires each farmer that wants to have telephony access to have this satellite dish outside the home. It will then connect them to a telephone and internet router like this one. This would then mean each farmer and farm worker would then be able to make phone calls on a landline and browse the net at a fast rate. SKA South Africa says the equipment and installation are subsidized. Farmers and farm workers would then have to pay for the usage. They say making phone calls with these tools will cost the farming communities 5 cents per minute. On December 3, Google's homepage was of an image behind me. It was designed by Krugersdorp school kid Katja Ludik. The grade 8 pupils' design won South Africa's Google Doodle Schools competition. Google had been running the competition for the last couple of months. The Krugersdorp pupils' design talks of a South Africa free of rhino and elephant poaching. As well as appearing on the Google homepage, the Doodle won Katja's school 100,000 Rand technology grant. So congratulations to Katja and the rest of the school. Today's youth is often called digital natives. This is because the vast majority of us spend a lot of time in social media or doing other stuff on our devices. But a lot of people often don't know how to make their digital know-how lucrative or turn it into job opportunities. Many companies also say they struggle to find young people with the right digital skills that are needed by today's economy. So a program called Digify has tried to assist in this regard. We pay them a visit in central Johannesburg.
It's been a grueling 3 months for these Digify graduates in this classroom right in the center of Johannesburg. They've been taking part in a free program that's given them the digital skills that South Africa has a shortage of. Dumelo Rantau was a blogger in his township Soweto when he came across a Facebook advertisement that showed him this free opportunity.
I have learned a lot from just media buying, Google AdWords, Google Analytics. I've learned a whole lot more about the digital space.
This means Owetu Makatini and others here now know how the websites they love visiting are actually created.
We've learned the whole scope, basically, of digital, from the softer skills like social media to more coding and programming, like actually coding.
On seeing the digital skills shortage in South Africa and the high youth unemployment rate, Liberty Africa says it had to do something. First, it was the realization that a lot of unemployed youth already have the basics of what the industry needs.
That they're growing up using digital skills, whether they come from a privileged background or an underprivileged background. We think they've got the potential and the inherent knowledge through being young digital citizens.
Liberty Africa then called on some big players in the technology space to help. Google came on board as both sponsor and mentor.
It's a very focused, small group of people that we take through an intense 3-month course, and then we place them in internships. And we really make sure that they are well prepared, not just in terms of the knowledge they have, but also in terms of vocational skills.
When MTN was going through Twitter to find the skills it needs, it then came across this program and now takes some of the previously unemployed young people here as interns.
I've seen some of the work that they've done for us. They did a little bit of a pitch for us for one of our campaigns, and it's just excellent stuff.
Apart from MTN, others have secured other employment.
I've got a really awesome job at a design company because I like graphic design, digital media.
This company in Cape Town called Hitch Digital, they decided to take me on as a junior account manager.
Liberty Africa says when it goes on a digital media recruitment process, it also scrutinizes whether the young people taken really need the free training provided. This is also to give predominantly those from disadvantaged communities opportunities to be part of a skilled workforce as well. As these 15 graduates go on to various places of employment in the new year, new recruits are now needed.
In September, the Independent Communications Authority of South Africa proposed new mobile termination rates. These rates are what big mobile phone network providers charge smaller players if they carry their calls. One analyst who's worked in the technology sector around the world says mobile termination rates are good because they will promote innovation.
According to ICASA, from March 2015, the normal mobile termination rate will reduce to 15 cents. This will be followed by another reduction in March 2016, lowering the rates to 10 cents. Technology expert Mantai Mari has worked in senior positions in the telecommunications sector in America. She now works in e-governance and technology across Africa and Hong Kong. She says mobile termination rates are good for the consumer and will force the sector to offer affordable products to get the most customers.
This helps them say, hey, we got to be creative and create more products and have more penetration.
She says mobile companies need to realize that customers want to make more than just phone calls and send text messages. Mari says they must reduce data costs so customers can be more creative on what they can do, and that might help reduce unemployment.
Mobile should not be the only driving force of the products that they can create. We've got to go somewhere where now the products become more, and it becomes fun to play because the infrastructure is there.
It seems South African mobile phone companies are realizing this as they are beginning to offer more internet products, but they are still criticized of high data costs.
In one of those weird technology news items, we're about to tell you about how selfies are creating a boom in cosmetic surgery. This is because so many of people are taking pictures of themselves and sharing them online. It's during this process that some get to see the minor flaws on their faces. Tele Khaswane has the story.
Some people are going the extra mile to look better in their pictures, like Jennifer Reynolds, seen here taking a selfie. She was self-conscious about her looks and didn't like being tagged in online photos. But after undergoing a nose job, the 34-year-old from Costa Rica is ready for a social media close-up.
I definitely feel more comfortable right now with my looks. Definitely. If I need to take a selfie, I with no problem I would do it. And before, I'm not sure if it was the reason, but I just didn't take pictures of myself.
Dr. Sam Risk is the plastic surgeon who Jennifer turned to. He says as the selfie has become more popular, he has more patients wanting eyelid lifts and nose jobs to help them look better. But some people aren't going under the knife. They're simply turning to makeup to create picture-perfect looks for their online dating profiles. For those not willing to take drastic measures to ensure the perfect selfie, take a tip from CNET's senior editor.
If you can get natural light, that really helps a lot. You don't want to use the flash on the phone because that gives you a very harsh, unnatural look.
And Dan says, most importantly, don't take it too seriously. After all, what good is snapping a pic if you are not having fun?
Plastic surgery for selfies. After the break, we'll chat about how digital will possibly be everything in future. Our guest is Jared Sinman from Native VLM. It's SABC Network on Facebook and Twitter.
Do you think that the media has then fully unpacked of what these strikes could possibly do to the economy if it's going to that extent of a recession?
It doesn't mean that when we solve the mining strike that suddenly the GDP is going to go and increase and we're all going to go and have an economic
Very
boom.
true,
So
yes.
we've got to go and look at that fact as well.
Obviously, the media, can't touch on absolutely everything.
Mm-hmm.
It is a very complicated situation.
Watch Media Monitor with me, Alicia Jali, Sundays at 9 a.m. only on the SABC News channel.
News Network at sabc.co.za and email. Welcome back. A new report in America shows that TV viewership has declined there. Researchers at Nielsen say audiences are increasingly moving to online platforms for their content.
The number of Americans watching television has dropped by 3.9%. The Nielsen report says online streaming has increased by 60%.
Well, I think the report highlights a sea change in television viewing as more and more viewers migrate from traditional television platforms to digital platforms, whether it's online, mobile, and streaming, video on demand, DVR.
Americans increased the amount of streaming web videos to nearly 11 hours a month, up from nearly 7 hours last year. That number could be higher as the research does not include viewing from devices like Roku, gaming consoles, and smartphones.
As we look to 2015, if this scenario continues, then you have to wonder, how much the networks are going to be able to make up this potential shortfall in advertising revenues, as well as even traditional syndication revenues. These are all multi-billion-dollar industries which could be potentially at risk as more and more consumers gravitate to online video, cord cutting, etc. So I think there's clearly challenges for media executives.
As this happens, analysts are saying agencies will now have to adjust their advertising models to suit the new landscape.
Also remember when online newspapers were copy and paste of the hard copy version, they had no advertising or had bland, boring print-style ads that were not interactive at all. As online platforms take over many aspects of our lives, Jared Sinman from Native VML says soon digital will be everything. He joins us in studio for a discussion about that. Hello and thank you for being a part of our network.
Hi, sure.
What do you mean when you say digital will be everything?
Well, I think what's going on in media is a fundamental change in distribution. We used to distribute radio, TV, print, television in a whole bunch of different ways. Broadcast versus putting it on paper versus whatever else. As time moves on, what's essentially happening is a convergence. So all of these media types and all of our content is starting to be distributed in the same way, which is pretty much over the internet.
But when it comes to the quality of the internet here in Africa, is it going to be the same as what we're seeing in America, for example, as you saw the inset?
Yeah, so I think, look, one has to be cautious in basing one's views too much on the American situation because it is a very different situation. Technologically, we have challenges in terms of broadband distribution. We have challenges in terms of the cost of internet access. And so it's going to take longer. But I don't think the trend is going to be fundamentally different. I think ultimately, as television eventually became predominant and everyone has access to television. Something like 86% of people in the world have access to television at home. So over time, irrespective of the challenges we have now, internet access will become completely pervasive as well.
Do you think both advertisers and probably people who are on those media platforms, whether it's radio, TV or newspapers, are aware of this, and are they working towards rectifying or towards some sort of common ground?
I think yes and no. I think there's a general awareness. I think certainly from 10 or 15 years ago when people could deny that the internet was going to ultimately be the predominant medium, I think there's a general acceptance that it is just a matter of time. But there's an economic challenge, because the money that is being spent on television or on print is not necessarily moving online to the same extent. And you also got the inertia of an enormous industry that is used to working with media that they understand, and the internet is very complicated. It's full of jargon. It's quite hard to explain how it operates. There's lots of pieces to it. So I think there's an awareness, but I definitely don't think that there is take-up to the level that we're going to see, especially with something like mobile, where you've got an enormous number of people accessing the internet on a feature phone. And I think advertisers in corporate boardrooms don't have that same experience. In a way, traditional media is a leveler. Everyone looks at a TV and kind of sees the same thing. In the mobile context, the difference between a smartphone and a feature phone is much greater. And so I think there is a technology gap.
On-demand television has picked up immensely in America. Do you see this trend coming here as well?
So look, I think there's two big things the internet brings. The one is interactivity. So media types that are no longer one way, they're interactive. The other is what I could call mass customization. It's people wanting to watch what they want to watch when they want to watch it, not waiting till 7:30 for your show to start, but switching it on whenever they want to. And we've seen a little bit of that with PVRs and that sort of stuff, but it's not yet on the scale that it's going to be. So absolutely we will have streaming television and streaming media. There's lots of initiatives already to try and bring some of that into South Africa. And I think that over time we're going to see a shift towards an environment where it isn't just one way. And
all right, advertising now.
Yeah.
What should advertisers do now?
Well, I think the number one is educate yourself. Understand what the power of digital is, and understand the different ways in which technology can be used, and prepare yourself for the revolution which is still coming.
All right. Jared Sinman from Native VML. Thank you very much for being a part of our network tonight.
Great. Thanks for having me.
All right. After the break, we will talk about 3D printing via 3D printing. Join us after the break.
You ask? This is who we are.
We are technologically driven.
We are unashamedly Afrocentric.
We advise you not only on legal matters,
but on health issues as well.
We bring imagination to life.
We celebrate arts and culture and lifestyle.
We tackle life challenges head on.
We dig deep. We probe. We question.
We invite you to take a view from our house.
As we tell it without fear, separating fiction from factual.
We are the SABC News Channel.
All news, all global, all the time.
What I'm very grateful about is the fact that I can motivate and I can stimulate young kids that are coming up to say, whatever you want to do is within your reach.
Now I have cancer, and I've survived this terrible, terrible abuse.
I accepted and went to Parliament. I thought it was just going to be for 5 years, but little did I know that 15 years down the line, I'll still be stuck in Parliament.
Join Puleng Molebatsi on Bupilong.
2 weeks ago, we had a live demonstration here in studio of how 3D printing works. But back then, we had the printer right here in front of us. Cloud 3D printing is the service where the printer does not have to be close to you for you to command it to print something. So how does it work exactly? To answer that question, we are joined by Jason Lang. He is the founder of Hybrid Advanced Geometrics. Jason, hello, and thank you for being a part of our network. Now, Jason, how does a 3D printing via the cloud work?
Well, considering, as you mentioned earlier, before you had to have the printer right by side by you, you didn't have to go across the room and actually install the information as you would normally. So today, what you can do is you can actually load it via the net, store it on the cloud, such as file systems like your Dropbox as a commercial entity. You're able to then directly from there load it to an off-site printing bureau. So what's happening now is we're kind of bringing printing to the home user, not just for the industry itself. So people that are got day jobs, would like to go home and do alternative work to create external income, they're able to now log on via the net and load a file to a machine, particularly, say, perhaps in Belgium or in the States or in the UK, wherever it is, depending on what the service is that they were looking for, because printing machines offer different materials and different resolutions. So you can now hybrid across a whole different platform via the cloud.
People have generally been scared of the cloud system.
Correct.
Is it safe?
Correct. Today it has become a lot more safe. There's a lot more encryptions that are involved. Also, the file systems that we use now are a lot more tamper-proof than they used to be. Before, you were able to manipulate and hack files quite easily, but today with the printing it seems to be almost on a strict language basis that the machine reads, so it's a lot more user-friendly. Yeah.
When we're printing via the cloud, especially with 3D printing, what sort of material does it use?
The printers themselves, there's a number of different machines that can be used. There's anything from a polyurethane, which is like a resin. There are laser sintering systems, which means it's a powder such as nylon or titanium or cobalt chrome, where laser actually fuses the molecules together and creates a 3D item layer by layer. So we essentially call it growing, but there's a number of different materials. The materials are growing immensely. From ABS plastics to your different polycarbonate plastics. So it depends on the application, what the client's looking for.
All right, you say it's safer, but what are the advantages of it? Why can't I just get the printer with me in the room and just print directly from where I am?
Two reasons is it's safer for you to be able to do live costings from that perspective. From a security feature, it is a lot safer in respects that you can't lose the flash drive. You can protect and password protect the file in a cloud. You can pull it from anywhere, but only you as the user gets to use it. Whereas if you leave a flash drive lying around on a desk, somebody can pick it up, copy it, and you wouldn't know any different. And especially with people's ideas coming about, innovations coming around, people are very protective over their IP and intellectual properties surrounding that design. So yeah, it's a lot safer.
You're talking about people doing this at home, the expense of it all.
The printing on themselves or the machines?
Basically printing via 3D and also using the cloud systems.
See, using the cloud systems, you got an advantage that you are not like before. You would have to take a file or a disk to a bureau, and so you've got the transport costs that are now eliminated. There is also the cost that, because it's a bureau and multiple numbers of people are using the machine, it works out to a lot cheaper, so the cost is spread.
Jason Lang, thank you very much for being a part of our network tonight.
Thank you.
Now let's check what some people have been sharing in social media. Many in social media have been sharing their anger at South Africa's power utility Eskom. Because of the power shortage, South Africans have started experiencing scheduled power cuts. Citizens haven't been happy about this at all. Hashtag Remember Mandela has dominated. This as South Africans have been commemorating a year since the country's former president died. While many have been sharing Mandela quotes, this tweet feels the late statesman and freedom fighter is being reduced to mere quotes. In the United Kingdom, Benyavanga Wainaina, who is a Kenyan author and one of Time magazine's 100 most influential people in the world, has been giving a talk. Some have shared pictures of him in an interesting outfit on stage. Well, that's all we have for you. We leave you with a video of NASA's spaceship launch that took place on Friday. The spaceship is designed to carry astronauts far beyond Earth. This hasn't been done since 40+ years ago. Find us on the SABC network, on Facebook and Twitter. It's News Network at sabc.co.za. An email from me and the rest of the network team. Have a good one.
10, the igniters have been lit.
9, 8, 7, 6,
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And liftoff at dawn. The dawn of Orion and a new era of American space exploration.
Good engine control on the first stage. Passing 25 seconds. Velocity 1,341 feet per second. Passing 31 seconds.